That's all good. Okay. Yastu Savani Bhutani
Yastu Sarvani Bhutani
Atmanyeva Nupashyati
Atmanyeva Anupashyati
Sarva Bhuteshu Chatmanam
Sarva Bhuteshu Cha Atmanam
Tona Vijugupsate.
Tatona Vidyugupsate.
Would you like to have a go?
Okay. All right, I'll try. Yastu Sarvani Bhutani
Yastu Savani Bhutani
Atmani Evana Anupashyati
Atmanyeva Nupashyati
Sarva Bhuteshu Cha Atmanam
Sarvabhuteshu Chatmanam
Tatona Vidyugupsate.
Tona Vijugupsate. The translation?
Yeah, okay. He who systematically sees everything in relation to Supreme Lord, who sees all living entities as his parts and parcels, and who sees the Supreme Lord within everything, never hates anything or any being.
Okay, so let's continue.
Yeah.
So the paragraph starts, those who imitate.
Okay. Those who imitate an Uttam Adhikari by flaunting a sense of oneness or fellowship, but who behave on bodily platform are actually false philanthropists. The conception of universal brotherhood must be learned from an Uttam Adhikari and not from a foolish person who does not properly understand the individual soul or the Supreme Lord's super soul expansion who dwells everywhere.
Okay, so if you remember from a couple of weeks ago, the paragraph we talked about was in discussion of what an Uttamadikari is, which is what the verse is talking about. The topmost devotee, Uttamadikari, who sees God everywhere, the Paramatma everywhere, in the heart of every living thing, and also sees the individual soul everywhere. So they're not so much focused on the body once one's achieved that Uttamadikari stage. They're not really so interested in whether the body is that of a dog or a pig or an elephant or they have a black body or a white one or an Indian one or a Chinese one or a man's one or a woman's one or a pretty one or an ugly one or whatever like that. But they're more seeing the soul within, which is part of God, and seeing God within. So that's their kind of vision. So we just talked about that. But then there's another kind of person who doesn't have that realization. However, they try to imitate the behavior of an Uttamadikari, but without the realization. So, and that's not very good, is what Prabhupada's saying here. And we shouldn't be learning from an imitator. We should find a real Uttamadikari and learn the spiritual science from them. Otherwise, we'll become cheated. So just superficially or externally, pretending to be an elevated devotee is not going to be beneficial, neither for that person that's being a pretender and neither for anyone that follows them. If you follow such a pretender or imitator, then we're just going to end up in a ditch. We're not going to end up in a good place. And examples given in the scriptures, just like if a blind person follows another blind person, where will you end up?
Nowhere, I guess.
Yeah, or it's often said in a ditch, right? Because if you're blind, right, when you're walking,
Yeah.
you're going to fall over something and you're going to end up in a hole or something. And if other blind people are following them, they're going to fall in the same ditch. So it's not recommended to imitate an advanced person if we don't have the realization. And it's also not recommended to follow persons that are just pretenders or, pseudo devotees, imitators like that. So this paragraph is like a warning. This is a warning to us. You have to very carefully select who you're going to listen to, who you're going to hear from, who you're going to follow. Don't just blindly accept. I mean, and this is very common in India and maybe other places too. Someone will present themselves as a great yogi or a great bhakta, or like even present themselves as Bhagavan, as God, and very naive, foolish or innocent, you could say, common people will just blindly accept them and follow them. Oh, this is Bhagavan, like that. And, Bhagavan Sai Baba, or, Bhagavan, this yogi is Bhagavan, or this, so many. You want to say anything about that?
Yeah, I think, I mean, that's pretty common in India, actually. Yeah, so people are innocent people, or people who doesn't have the knowledge. They just go for the gimmicks, just not the lack of knowledge, and people exploiting those people. That's very common. I mean,
Mm.
yeah,
And so anyone that can do some magic tricks, like produce some
yeah,
ash in hand or some gold or something like that, or bring some mango from
yeah.
some place or whatever in his hand, or do some tricks like that, they think, oh, his mum must be Bhagavan, or they can levitate or something like that off the ground, or do different tricks like that. These are called cities. So some really have the cities, and some just doing it by some sleight of hand magic.
Yeah.
And that way people get very attracted and start to worship the person and follow everything they say, and that's very dangerous. That's very dangerous. So we have to be very careful about that.
Yeah, I think it's relevant in this era as well, because the information is everywhere, but we don't have you have to go for the right source, isn't it? Look at
Definitely.
the internet. If you look at the internet, so many things are there, but most of them are, it's not. Yeah, the source has to be right. As you're saying, either a guru or somebody, or some kind of a disciplic succession. So I think if you're learning or getting knowledge from anywhere, you have to make sure that it's the right source, isn't it?
Definitely. And it's the same, if we want to get our car repaired, you'll try to make sure you find a genuine mechanic. Or if you want some, if you want to purchase some gold jewelry, you'll try to make sure you go to the, proper jeweler shop, not some guy that's just got some iron and, painted it with some gold paint or something like that, and offering it at a cheap price, but it's not the real thing. You find out later. Like sometimes, we've bought some silver plate and cup for Bhagavan's puja or whatever, and we ask, is this pure silver? And they say yes, 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 yes. Then later on, after a year or two, the top covering wears off, and underneath you see it's just some ordinary metal underneath. It's not the pure silver. So we get cheated. So like that, you wanna try to make sure that the person you're following is genuine, and therefore it's important to have a deep understanding of the Shastra, of the scripture, to know what the symptoms are of a pure devotee, to know what the qualifications are. And in Bhagavad Gita and other scriptures also, so much, so many verses are given for explaining what is the characteristics, what is the behavior, what is the symptoms of an advanced devotee, a guru, a sadhu, a swami, like that. And we have to check, okay, this person I'm seeing now, do they have all these characteristics or the behavior? And also you still have to be even careful, even seeing that. In public, they might seem to have those characteristics and those so forth. But if you go behind in the private place, they may be completely different. In public, they look like a sadhu, but behind the closed door, they pull out the beedies, the cigarettes, and they have many girlfriends, and you know, they're eating meat and drinking liquor and so forth, you know, so you have to really, you know, just be a little bit patient, observe, and some time, you know, before you finally say, yes, this is the person I want to surrender to. This is the person I want to accept as my guru. So you have to have some good checks and balances. It's very important to do that. Otherwise, if we're just very naive or very ignorant, we may just, you know, just immediately accept the wrong person. And that may cause chaos in our life. And we see in the whole world, you know, this is the case. People just blindly accept foolish leaders. And that's in government things, but, you know, politicians also, not just talking about spiritual things, but in all areas of life. If you follow the person, it can have very bad consequences. So, you know, we have to be more intelligent than that. You know, we don't want to be just like some blind sheep, some stupid sheep, you know, and we just line up, you know, in the slaughterhouse, you know, because that's what animals do, right? They're just standing in line in the slaughterhouse and they don't realize, you know, that death is approaching. So we want to be better than that. Okay, so let's go on.
It is clearly mentioned in the sixth mantra that one should observe or systematically see. This means that one must follow the previous acharyas, the perfect teachers. Anupashyati is exact Sanskrit word used in this connection. Anu means to follow and pashyati means to observe. Thus the word anupashyati means that one should see things as he does with the naked, or one should not see things as he does with the naked eye, but should follow the previous acharyas. Due to material defects, the naked eye cannot see anything properly. One cannot see properly unless one has heard from a superior source. And the highest source is the Vedic wisdom, which is spoken by Lord himself. Vedic truths are coming in disciplic succession from Lord to Brahma, from Brahma to Narad, and from Narada to Vyasa, and from Vyasa to his disciples. Formerly, there are no need to record the messages of Veda because people in earlier ages were more intelligent and had sharper memories. They could follow the instructions simply by hearing from the mouth of a bona fide spiritual master.
Okay, so this is very interesting that, because this verse is telling us about how the highly advanced devotee sees, and that he sees God everywhere, like we've said, and he sees the soul everywhere. But when it's talking about seeing, it's not just meaning these two eyes, that's seeing, but more about that we're following what we're learning here, that we're following the previous acharyas, the previous teachers. We're following in their footsteps, and we're following them through the process of hearing. So actually, this seeing is a way of seeing through the ears, not through the eyes. We think we can only see through the eyes, but actually, you can have a much better way of seeing through the ears. And that's called Shastra Chakshush.
Shastra Chakshu.
Yeah, Chakshush means eyes, you know, as you know. Shastra means the scriptures, hearing the scriptures. So you can understand things a lot better through hearing from the authority of the scriptures than what you can just get from your eyes. Another word is called Jnana Chakshusha.
Knowledge, eyes. Yeah, okay.
Seeing through knowledge, you know, through this process of hearing from authorities. That's much better. And I'll give you a very good example that Prabhupada quotes many times. If your eyes see the sun, what information, what knowledge do you get about the sun through your eyes?
I think
Right. How big is it?
just a I think, yeah, I mean, if you look at from your eyes, yeah, it's just the sun and the light coming from the sun. I mean, and the
Yeah,
heat, I guess. I mean, yeah, that's
yeah.
basic.
But the knowledge you get from your eyes about the sun, like for example, how big is it? What information do you get from your eyes about how big the sun is?
It doesn't look very big from our eyes. I mean, from here, that's obviously, yeah.
But is that what we believe? That the sun is about, you know, 1 or 2 inches in diameter, you know, about 3 or 4 centimeters?
No, I don't think so. Yeah, no.
No, no. So how else can we get information about the sun other than our eyes?
If somebody who is near the sun can tell us, I mean, that's the only thing, isn't it? Somebody.
Because when we go to school, right, we learn in the science class and that you know, from the scientists' research or whatever, that the sun is so many million miles or kilometers wide. You know, so what are we going to, what information are we going to accept? Are we going to accept the information from our eyes about the sun, that it's 3 centimeters wide? Or are we going to accept the information that we hear from the authorities, in this case scientists, that it's millions of miles wide?
So, yeah, it's obviously the authority. I mean, as you said, the scientist is the authority, or in the Vedic is the, you know, God is the authority. If they are telling us, because we cannot see anything properly,
Yeah,
because
that's right. So that is the point, that our senses, like our eyes, are defective. We have imperfect senses. So often we're making mistakes if we just go by the senses, like the eyes, for example. That like this, like I said, the eyes see the sun is only a few centimeters, but actually the fact is that it's millions of miles wide and it's very far away. And that's why it looks so small, because it's very far away. But our sun, I mean, our eyes can't produce that information. But some authorities, they, you know, may have the facts. Of course, we may say that, well, what if the scientists have got it wrong? And that's true. The scientists may get it wrong. I mean, they may be looking through some telescopes or whatever, and maybe they might get it right, you know, using their, you know, modern equipment or whatever. And they may get it wrong, they may get it right. So it's a bit hit and miss. And but however, there are other authorities other than scientists, and we accept the spiritual scientists who are the acharyas, the great spiritual teachers, who are receiving knowledge which is originally coming down from God. And that's what Prabhupada mentions here, the parampara, the disciplic succession. So it's saying, and where does the knowledge start from? That's very important. It says here, he's mentioned from the Lord. So the knowledge has to come originally from the Lord, because obviously the Lord, or God, Krishna, you know, different descriptions of the supreme being, but there is a supreme being, and he created everything, he controls everything, so he knows who's the best person to find out about the sun is the person that created the sun, the person that's controlling the sun. So obviously the Lord is the best person to tell us about how big the sun is and all that, how far away it is from the earth and so forth. So through this system, we can find out from the Lord, not directly, but the Lord is telling Brahma, Brahma is telling Narada, now Narada is telling Vyasadeva, Vyasadeva, so many disciples like that. As you know, Vyasadeva compiled the Shastra. So the Shastra, or the Vedas, was compiled by Vyasadeva. He's known as Veda Vyasa, Veda Vyasa. So the Vedas were compiled by Vyasadeva. So, and there's a connection there between Vyasadeva and the Lord. So if we take the knowledge from the Vedas, if we hear from the authorities coming down originally from the Lord, then we get perfect knowledge. So the Vedas also tell how wide the sun is, the distance like that, and how far away it is from the earth, the orbit, everything like that. Actually, I think I remember Prabhupada was telling what the Vedas say the diameter of the sun is, and and also the distance from the Earth. And Prabhupada mentioned that the scientists got it right. So he actually, in that case, he agreed with what the scientists said because it matched up with the Vedas. If it doesn't match up with the Vedas, then obviously he wouldn't agree with what the scientists say. And I know one case where Prabhupada didn't agree with what the scientists said, and that was the moon, that he said they got it wrong. The distance of the moon from the Earth, he disagreed with what the scientists said because it doesn't match up with what the Vedas say. And actually, the scientists say that the moon is closer to the Earth than the sun. But the Vedas say the moon is further away from the Earth than the sun. And interestingly, he says something that is very interesting. And that, what's the first day of the week? Do you know?
Is it Monday? Sunday or Monday? I don't know.
It's actually Sunday.
Sunday, is it?
Sunday is the first day of the week. Of course, now it's taken, because most people go to work on Monday, that Monday is the beginning of the week. But actually, the way it was set up was that the way it was originally set up, however many thousands of years ago, they had those names: Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. It's actually the names of the planets. And it starts off from the planet closest to the Earth: Sunday, sun. Then Monday, moon. Tuesday, so Tuesday is actually, it's the name of one of the planets. Now, I can't remember. I've got it written down, but I haven't got it right here. But I think these are Greek, or a lot of the Greek or Hebrew words. And so it's different than like Jupiter and Mars and Venus and things like that. But these are all different names of different planets. This Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Obviously, Saturday is Saturn. So Saturday is Saturn. So Saturn is the furthest away of those 7 planets from the Earth. Saturn is the furthest away. So one of them is Jupiter, one's Mars, Venus, and whatever, and then there's another one. So they're all marked by the different days and how far away. So that's very fascinating that even, the thousands of years ago, they had that understanding of the distance of the planets from the Earth, and that's why they gave that order of names in the week, from the closest to the furthest away. So I found that pretty interesting.
I think this is pretty right, in the sense, if you look at the Hindi or Indian, we say Ravivar. Ravi means the sun.
Yes, yeah.
Ravivar, and Shani. Shani is also Saturn. So, and Thursday is Brahaspati. That is, so it's like it's matches. I think Mangal.
So yeah, so that Thursday
is there. Yeah.
That's Jupiter. Yeah, that's Jupiter. Brihaspati's planet is Jupiter.
Exactly.
So that's Thursday.
So I can see the parallel. I mean, you can see that it's named based on planets or something. It's similar. I mean,
yeah. So obviously, it's just different words. That's all. I mean, you're using Hindi words or Sanskrit, and then using English or like I said, it comes from, I can't remember. It's either Greek or Hebrew or something. But they had it right. That the order of the planets matching. The week, the names of the week.
So there is a source above them, right? So Greek or Indian or whatever, Hindu, but there's a source on top. The source is same, so that's where you can see the parallel, similar.
Oh yeah, it's coming originally from the same culture, which is the oldest culture, Vedic culture, and even Greek and Hebrew, even the what do you call them, the linguistic people or scholars about languages, they say that that even Greek and Hebrew, these old languages, they originally come from Sanskrit, and there's actually so many Sanskrit words in every language, because that's the mother language. Even like I know in New Zealand, the Maoris, the indigenous people of New Zealand, are called Maoris, like you have the Aborigines in Australia. So here they're called Maoris. And in Maori language, there's more than 200 Sanskrit words in Maori. There's more Sanskrit words in the Maori language. Even there's one, even the names of many towns in New Zealand, they're Maori names. One of the names is called Rama Rama.
Oh, I think you told about a billboard as well. I don't know. Yeah.
One is called, one town is called Hari.
Oh, wow.
Ari, exactly, and that's Maori. Another town is called Ngoranga. So
Oh,
Goranga.
yeah, that's the one. Okay.
Yeah. But they've just got an N in front of it. So they've exactly spelt Goranga, which is a name for Lord Chaitanya, with an N in front of it. So Ngoranga. And there's so many like that, Sanskrit words in Maori. So we see, there's it's coming from the same source. But this is the best way to see things, is forget about these eyes. We should throw away the glasses. But the eyes, like I say, they're defective. Just like they don't work very well, so we need some glasses to see better. But whether you have glasses or not, they're defective. Like I said, with the sun, it gives us the wrong information, the eyes. Better is...
it may not be defective. Maybe we can say it has limitations, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's very limited.
Yeah. Defective means it's not perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. That's fine. Yeah.
Perfect. But like you say, limitations, that's also a good way of explaining it. They have their limitations. So there's so much more information we can gather through our ears than through our eyes. We can tap into these greatly learned personalities, these acharyas, through our ears, through hearing from them, hearing from the scriptures, the Shastra. So, intelligent people would do that, try to get knowledge through this hearing process, which we call Shabda Brahma, the spiritual sound, Shabda Brahma. The spiritual sound is much more reliable source of knowledge than just...
There's another word for it, Shabda Praman or something. There are three types of, is it? Shabda Praman.
Yeah, Shabda Brahma. So Brahma means spiritual and Shabda means sound. So spiritual sound. And that spiritual sound is transmitted through this parampara, this disciplic succession from the guru to disciple. And it's mentioned, interestingly, Prabhupada talks about at the end of this paragraph that there was no need in the earlier ages for any books. No need for any books. And why is that? And like it's mentioned, it was just passed from the Lord to Brahma, Brahma to Narada, Narada to Vyasa, like that. Just from the mouth of the guru to the ears of the disciple, and then they would become a guru, and then they would tell it to the next disciple. And there's no books in there. Just they had perfect memories in previous ages, perfect memory. So whatever you hear, like, you're hearing something now, then in a previous age, you could remember exactly what I've said today, and a year later, you could tell it word for word to, like, your wife or your son or whatever like that, word for word after a year. Can you do that now? Probably not. I don't know. But usually, if we don't write it down straight away, we're going to forget it. Because
it's Chinese whispers, it'll change something else.
So this is one of the characteristics of Kali Yuga, the age that we live in now, Kali Yuga, that our memory power is very reduced compared to what it was previously. If you go back to Dwapara Yuga, it was more better than memory. And if you go back to Treta Yuga, it was even better. If you go to Satya Yuga, it was even more better. And the lifespan was better. Like now, it's a maximum 100 years. In Dwapara Yuga, 1,000 years. In Treta Yuga, 10,000 years. In Satya Yuga, 100,000 years.
Wow. Mm.
Like we hear that Valmiki, compiling the Ramayana, Valmiki,
Yeah.
he did tapasya for 70,000 years.
Wow.
Obviously, he must have
Yeah, that's
a long
right.
lifespan, to do tapasya for 70,000 years, because he was living 100,000 years. So he can do that because he was living in the Satyuga like that. So this is one of the characteristics there of Kali Yuga, is that now our memory is not so good. So therefore, we need to store the knowledge in books, because if you don't store it in the book, then you're going to forget. So Vyasadeva, 5,000 years ago, he could see that Kali Yuga is coming, because that was the beginning of Kali Yuga 5,000 years ago when Vyasadeva was compiled the Vedas. So he could see at that time that the memory power is becoming less. So he decided to write it down. Actually, he spoke it to Ganesh, and Ganesh wrote it down. He spoke the knowledge continuously of the Vedas, the Samaveda, Rig Veda, Atharva, Yajurveda, like that. He spoke it, and Ganesh was writing it down. And then the Mahabharata, the Upanishads, Mahabharata, and Ganesh was writing. So he was speaking, and Ganesh was writing. So they put it in the book form. Before 5,000 years ago, no books, no books. After 5,000 years, then books began. But of course, originally there was no printing presses. So they used to just get leaves, dried leaves.
Yes.
And that ink is from some plants. They get the ink and they just writing on the palm leaves and everything like that, handwriting. So, really, really amazing to know all these things.
How they kept it like that, and we are
Yeah.
reading it now. I mean, it started with the leaves.
Yeah.
They were writing on the leaves.
But then people may say, oh, these people are very, primitive people. They're just writing on leaves. But, what are they writing on the leaf? We don't even know anything about what they're writing on the leaf. They're telling exactly how far the distance from the Earth to the moon and the Earth to Jupiter. And even they're telling about the Brahmaloka and the Swargaloka and what is the Vaikunta. They're writing on a leaf. But you might think, oh, this is very primitive. They're writing on leaves. We have very high technology now. We have computers and printing presses and everything. But we have no knowledge compared to what they had. So definitely, they're simply writing on leaves. But the depth and of the information is incredible. All the different planets in the universe and who is living there and what is beyond the material, the Vaikunta, and understanding about the Atma and the Paramatma and the Bhagavan and the Brahman and everything. These sages are just writing on the leaves. Incredible. But and it's not that they were stupid, that they couldn't develop any technology, that they were stupid people and they couldn't develop computers or whatever like that. But you see, a very important part of Vedic culture, and this is something we should understand, they wanted to keep their life very simple because they didn't want their life to become complicated, which would cause them to have no time for their spiritual development. And that's the trap that we have fallen into. We think we're very intelligent, creating all these different technologies and everything like that. But in fact, all we've done is made our life so complex that now we have hardly any time to question, who am I? Why am I here? What is my purpose? We're just so busy, you know, trying to make money to pay for all these fancy gadgets that we have and everything. Previously, of course, you didn't need to hardly do any work. Like the leaves are free from the trees everywhere. Just gather the leaves and you get some ink from squeeze out the juice from some other leaves and you get the ink and you have a free book. There's no need. Now we have to make so much money you know, to be able to purchase all these computers and printers. One a guy I'm doing some work for here, he was saying, oh, he was renting this printer, and they really ripped him off, and they locked him into a contract for like 5 years, a 5 year lock. They sort of tricked him and made it sound very attractive and everything, but they locked him into this contract, and he said he spent like tens of thousands of dollars, you know, over this period just for a printer like that. But previously, there's no money. You don't need to work to make money to get all these things. You just pick some leaves and get some ink and you do it. So it's not that they were stupid and they couldn't develop technology. They could have, but they didn't want to complicate their lives. They valued their time so much. I want time to chant. I want time to have the Bhagavad Gita, the Krishna Gita, the Ram Gita. I want time for the satsanga, the sadhu sangha. I don't want to spend my time in some factory or office, you know, making money to get all the gadgets and, you know, and even the people that are developing these things. You know, can you imagine how many people and how much time those people spent to develop your mobile phone, your iPhone, your Samsung phone? How much time and energy, valuable human energy and resources was spent to create skyscrapers, to create cars and planes and internet and all this thing. And what happened to their self-realization of all those people?
Yeah, I mean that's so true. I mean, what we have created is distractions, basically. You know, so many of them, and the thing, as you said, that we don't have the knowledge, the right context. What we see is what we see is the world around us. We don't have any idea the whole context. You know, the spiritual, the godly part, how everything is being handled. You see a human body and you look at it and see how it's created. I mean, we never question. We don't have time to even question that, isn't it? We have so many distractions.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, so that's the knowledge coming from the up there. That's the manual coming from God saying this is how you should be. Yeah, this is how it works. Come on, just follow it. I guess I mean that's what it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it's not that easy, I guess. We are so.
That's a good word, distraction. Yeah, well, that's what we created, distractions. You know, so before they had that distraction-free environment, and you know everyone in that culture, they had the knowledge that there's a soul in the heart of every living thing, that God is in the heart of everything. I mean, you ask any scientist or university lecturer or anything about that, they're going to have no idea whatsoever. They have no knowledge that there's a soul within their body or anyone else's body. They have no knowledge that God is within the heart, Paramatma, within every body like that. But even the Sudra in Vedic culture knows that. You know, what to speak of the Brahmana, even a Sudra, just a simple laborer, and if you go back in time in India, you know, in Vedic culture, even the Sudra knows more than the greatest scientists in a modern day society. They know that God is everywhere, and they know that the Atma, the soul, is everywhere, and they respect everyone. You know, they don't even want to hurt an ant, you know, so there's so much knowledge that was there that even our greatest brains in modern day society, they don't have a clue. They don't have a clue. Of course, I mean, they've got fantastic internet and, you know, and electricity and some cars and everything, but they don't know who they are. They don't know why they're here. They don't know where they came from. They don't know where they're going when they die. You know, the really important stuff, they don't know. They know how to get from A to B really fast or whatever, but they don't know where their life started from and where it's going to end, you know, things like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I mean that's true. I mean, what we are doing here, we are playing with the material. You know, you have created internet. You are just looking at things from materialistic point of view, but you don't have the whole idea, as you're saying, why you are here. They never question. They are so distracted by all the other stuff. They never question that, what am I doing here? What's my purpose here? You know, if you ask and you look around, see, I mean, we are just playing. It's like kids play with the toys. We playing with the material, and we think we have done a big thing. You know, we don't even know probably 1% of what God has built here. We cannot actually understand the body, our body, 100%. Otherwise, we would have, you know, created all the treatments for everything, but we don't. So we don't even know 0.1% of it. So we're just playing. Yeah, we're just playing with the material. That's it.
Yeah. I mean, and of course, someone can criticize us that, well, you guys are also using the internet too. but the thing is, so we're not actually criticizing that technology or science, but what we're criticizing is that if you get so caught up and sucked in by the technology and that you forget your real purpose, that we criticize that what happened, mate? You know, you forgot where you're going, you know, what your real purpose is, that, you know, your body's going to die, and what are you going to do about it? You know, what are you doing here in this body that's, you know, heading towards old age, disease, and death? You know, so you're so caught up in the, you know, in the YouTube and the Facebook and the WhatsApp and, you know, making money and that you've forgotten what you're really supposed to do: get free from suffering and find the eternal happiness in everything, and revive your relationship with God. So it's not just that we hassle the technology, but if you get bewildered by it and, like you said, distracted by it, and you forget what your real dharma is, you know, your real duty is, that's what we criticize. But use technology and you're still keeping on the path, you know, you're still focused, and you are using the technology to help you achieve your goal. You see, you know, like we're using technology right now, using it to talk about God, you know, to hear God and discuss God. And you're far away from me, and I'm far away from you. So we're using the technology to come together about God. So in that case, it's not taking us away from our goal. It's helping us come closer to our goal. So we're not just blatantly, you know, putting down.
Yeah, we're not saying anything bad about it, but I mean, you can utilize everything for good. But I think, as you said, most of the people don't have the complete knowledge. The complete knowledge. They just have material knowledge. They are not thinking of the other side.
Yeah,
that's where that lack of that knowledge is the thing. I mean, utilizing all the technology and everything to use it correctly, it's good. I mean, there's nothing wrong. I think that's a good point.
Yeah. Okay, so let's continue, eh?
Yeah.
At
present, there are many commentaries on the revealed scriptures, but most of them are not in line of disciplic succession coming from Srila Vyasadeva, who originally compiled the Vedic wisdom. The most perfect and sublime work of Srila Vyasadeva is Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the natural commentary on the Vedanta Sutra. There is also Bhagavad Gita, which was spoken by Lord himself and recorded by Vyasadeva. These are the most important revealed scriptures, and any commentary that contradicts the principles of Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam is unauthorized. There is a complete agreement among Upanishad, Vedanta Sutra, Vedas, Bhagavad Gita, and Srimad Bhagavatam. And no one should try to reach any conclusion about Vedas without receiving instruction from members of Vyasadeva's disciplic succession, who believe in personality of Godhead and his diverse energies as they are explained in Sri Isopanisad.
Okay, so we just discussed this a little bit. So now we're hearing that you have to receive the Vedic knowledge from an authorized person. You can't receive it. Well, I mean, you can, but you shouldn't. It's not going to be a real benefit if you receive it from someone that's not in the succession. they may have understood it in the wrong way, or definitely they will understand it in the wrong way. And you can't just understand the Vedas through mental speculation. You have to hear the knowledge submissively from someone that knows the truth. And therefore in Bhagavad Gita it says, just try and learn the truth by approaching a bona fide spiritual master, inquire submissively from him, render service unto him. The self-realized soul can impart knowledge unto you because he has seen the truth. So that's an English translation from chapter 4, text 34 of the Bhagavad Gita, that we should try to get this knowledge, this Vedic knowledge, from someone that has seen the truth. It's called Tattva Darshana.
Tattva Darshana.
Or Tattva Darshi. So Darshi or Darshana means the seer. And Tattva means the truth. So one that has seen or realized the truth. So we don't want to just get knowledge from someone that's just a mental speculator, and they're just making so many hypotheses and guesswork. So anyone that starts off talking maybe could be I believe. Anyone that says I believe maybe could be I think. Anyone that says I think, then you should be alarm bells going off in your mind. Okay, I have to take what they say with a grain of salt. Don't, because what's the value of I believe, I think, maybe. You get 100 people in a room, they all think 100 different things, but there can't be 100 truths, right? There's one truth, not 100, but 100 people think 100 different things. So how are you going to find the truth? That's the question. We're all believing differently, thinking differently, speculating differently. We all have a different maybe, could be, like that. A different theory, right? Theory. 100 scientists will have 100 theories, but it's only one truth. So which theory are you going to take? So the real thing, we have to take it from the absolute truth, which is God. God is the absolute truth. He's called the Param Satya. Param Satya, Param means the supreme, Tattva means truth. He's the supreme truth, the absolute truth. So we take it, or Advaitam. Advaita means the absolute. So the one supreme. So we take our knowledge from that Advaita, from the Param Satya, and it's coming down through that disciplic session. And that way we can get the real facts, the real truth. And that's what we want. I mean, personally, that's what I want. I don't want to know what someone believes and what someone thinks. I want to know what the facts are, and that's science, right? Science means you want to find out what is the fact, what is the truth. And people have that idea that science deals with facts and religion deals with beliefs. But actually, that's not the case here. This is religion in the sense that it's, the words of God, the laws of God, that's religion. But this is the real facts. This is a spiritual science, real facts, and it's coming from God. So we have been sort of led to believe before that religion deals with just belief systems and a kind of faith, and it's not necessarily dealing with facts, and that science deals with facts. But that's not really the case. That often what we're presenting as science is actually beliefs, is some belief system, some theories of some different, big brain scientists, and many times they've got it wrong. Like, for example, Darwin's theory. A lot of modern scientific society is based on the theory of Darwinism, evolution, the evolutionary theory, that we've evolved from monkeys and from some simple organisms that came out of the water a million years ago, and due to the process of natural selection, then the species have evolved into more, complex and advanced and things like that. And originally it started from a big bang, and like that. But that's complete nonsense, according to the Vedas. That's complete. We can't be further away from the truth than that. So we have to carefully try to understand these things and work out what's the right path to take. Because if you just accept the modern science as a truth, we could be definitely misled. And if we don't accept the Vedas, then we'll be lost, like that. So, and some people, they may be writing some commentary on the Vedas, like example, Bhagavad Gita is part of the Vedas and the words of Krishna. But if the person that's writing the Bhagavad Gita commentary is not in the disciplic session, then we should not accept his or her writing. They're not qualified or eligible to make commentaries on Krishna's words, because they're not connected with Krishna in the disciplic session. And Prabhupada mentions 50 years ago, when he wrote Bhagavad Gita as it is, that there were already more than 700 versions of Bhagavad Gita. Well, I don't know what it is now. It must be well over 1,000.
Must be, yeah. Everyone is interpreting it. Yeah, I think.
But Prabhupada, what the title, Bhagavad Gita as it is. That's important, as it is. He's not speculating. He's not concocting anything, his own interpretations. He's not interpreting Krishna's words with his fertile brain, his fertile imagination, to put his personal agenda into it. Because we all like to do that, isn't it? We like our personal touch, that, well, no, this is Narendra's book, and everything, and it's got rabbis, what they're into, we want to gain something, so we put that into the book, what we want to gain, which is often that we want to get some recognition or some prestige or some respect, that people will think, wow, Narendra and Abai, they're telling us things that that we never learnt from anywhere else, something different. They're telling us something different, but you'll notice that in the parampara, doesn't matter whether it's Vyasadeva speaking or Narada or Brahma, they're all telling us exactly the same thing. They're not changing anything. They're not adding it to but if you do that, you don't get any special distinction. Isn't it? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, definitely, yes. Because
how are you going to stand out from everyone else if you say the same thing? But the thing is, their purpose is not to stand out. They're not wanting to become famous and whatever. They're just wanting to do some humble service to their guru and to Krishna, and presenting the same thing. But the modern scholars and philosophers, they want to stand out. They want to get some recognition and some respect, that they're saying something different than what everyone else has said before. So they'll present some new idea, some new philosophy. And then what's happening with that is you've lost the truth.
The motivation is wrong, right?
Then it's not Krishna's words anymore, it's Narendra's words, or it's Abai's words. See what I'm saying? But like now I'm speaking, but it's actually Krishna's words. So all I'm doing is trying to be an instrument for Krishna. But like if I say that Krishna is the source of everything comes from Krishna, and that the wise people should devote their lives to serving him with love, then that's actually Krishna's words. I've taken that from the 10th chapter, 8th verse of the Bhagavad Gita. But what I could do, I could change that. Instead of saying Krishna is the source of everything, everything comes from him, I could say I'm the source of everything from me, and everyone should serve me. So then I've changed it. So then it's not Krishna's words anymore, it's mine. And then there's no value whatsoever for that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, yes. I think I like the part where you said, because most of the time we use the word maybe, to identify that source is authoritative or not. They won't be using these words. Like I think I have heard Prabhupada's some lectures.